Hello, hello. Welcome back to Chats and Chapters. I am Caitlin Howarth. I am a book editor. I am currently writing my first book, and I make videos about writing, editing, self-editing, all of those things. So stick around. Please subscribe. Today, I think it'd be a good idea for you to grab a tea, grab a matcha, grab a coffee, whatever. We are going to chat about how long it should take you to write your novel. How long? What is acceptable? What is too long? Are you dilly-dallying? What's too fast? Is writing a book too fast even a thing? This is something that I have been thinking about all week because I saw a TikTok that I will leave below. I'll leave the link below about a lady ranting. It's priceless about how Colleen Hoover pumps out books all the time. And it's fascinating that as the publishing industry and readers and everything just within today's world, we need things immediately. We want things to be unique and we want things to be thought through and we want authors to create amazing stories, but we also at the same time are promoting and giving a positive feedback loop of stories that come out every year. And she's talking about how it dilutes the stories and how the writing from today isn't as great as it used to be because we are so obsessed with production of writing and writing. I was talking to one of my authors, Christine. We had our writing call 2 nights ago. And she was talking about how when she was first writing her book, she Googled how long you should release your second and third book after your first book. And it said 6 to 9 months. And she was like, how does that even make sense as a suggestion? And I was like, I don't know. With a caveat, I have another author who is releasing a trilogy. We are going to be working on the third book this fall. And he wrote all of them before he released his first book. So there's so many avenues, there's so many different ways that you can go about writing, typing out the words and making the plot and getting the dialogue and all of those things. There's so many different ways that you can actually write it. And there's so many different ways that you can go through the process of writing and publishing and releasing and getting it into the hands of your readers. I've always thought about this because I've always read books and I've always thought about how long the author sat down to plan out the book, if they planned it, if they could have been a pantser and it could have turned out great and they really shaped it and reworked it within the revision process. And I think now that I'm writing my first book, it's not my first idea, but it's the first one that I've actually started to write. I'm writing a zero draft. I haven't done that on any of my other ones. I just have idea pages. Now that I'm writing a zero draft, things have come up, things have happened. I haven't touched it in 3 weeks, a while. I haven't touched it since my last vlog, which is on this channel. You can watch it and catch up on the zero draft diary journey that I'm on, but I haven't touched it. And as I was talking to Christine and we were chatting about it, I've thought about it. I've had ideas pop in my head, but I haven't added anything to my document. I've added no words. I've added nothing physical to anything within my book. And I'm okay with it. When I had this idea, I knew it would take me a long time to put together. I know this is something that is going to take me a bit to really sift through and untangle and then rebraid the way that I want it to come across. I have a very specific vision for this book. And I just thought that it was so fascinating that we had that conversation about me not touching my zero draft in weeks and being okay with it. I'm not on a time constraint. I don't have a publisher being like, you're on deadline, which I think is one of the issues, one of the contributing factors of how fast these books are being churned out. And you see it and I feel it because we've waited years for the next ACOTAR book. I want the 6th Court of Thorns and Roses book. I want Sarah J. Maas to give me another story, and we're getting another one, and then we're getting another one in 2027. And I hope that it is going to be glorious. And I don't want to think that we would have gotten a really great story 6 months or a year or even 18 months after she released Silver Flames. And I think about Erin Morgenstern a lot. I know you're shocked if you've been here. The Night Circus and The Starless Sea. Fascinating books, amazing, just like puzzles for your brain, in my opinion. They're some of my favorite books of all time. And I have watched interviews of Erin Morgenstern about the books and about her process and all of that good stuff. And it is so fascinating to me because it took her about 5 years from the idea to getting The Night Circus to an editor. It took about 5 years for her to do that. And then it was published the next year. I think it was published in 2011. God, can you imagine if I'd read that the year that I graduated high school? That's crazy. Anyways, so she published The Night Circus in 2011. And then I think she took some time off. And then it took her another 5 years to have the idea for The Starless Sea and connect all of those dots and really get that story where it needed to be to release it. So between The Night Circus and The Starless Sea, there were 8 years, and these books aren't connected. It's not a series, which I think is something to think about if you are currently writing and trying to figure out your timeline and what you can manage. They're not connected. I think people, me, were waiting for her third book, and we're coming up on that time, right? It came out in 2019. We're at 7 years. We're hoping at some point in the next couple of years, like it's her 8-year mark. It's been 5 years. She should have hopefully a story brewing and getting close. But I know that I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait, and whatever the fuck she comes out with, I'm going to read it, and it's going to be amazing because she's not rushing it. It has been so long. She's let her brain breathe. She has given herself the time to have a really good next story idea and given herself the time to craft it and write it and make it what she wants it to be and envisions for it to be. So all of that being said, my point is I think this whole thing is fascinating, and I could very much be stressed that I haven't touched my zero draft for a couple of weeks. I could be like, oh my God. I could tell myself that I should use it as an escape. If you missed the post, if you don't follow me on TikTok and you missed the community post on YouTube, I had to put my cat down 2 weeks ago. My cat, I'll put a picture here, that I've had since I was 17. So I got her in the summer of 2010, the year before I graduated high school. So I've had Boo a really long time. And so obviously that was hard. And then it's been hard on Ridley, the kitten. She just, I don't know, Boo hated other cats, but Ridley, I think because she was a baby when she came into the house and she was like raised with another cat, it's been a thing. And then my dog has had problems. She got hot spots. And so we've been in and out of the vet with her and trying to get her to stop clawing. It's just been like, there's been so much happening. And I know some writers use their stories as an escape. And I think if that works for you, it works for you. And I think sometimes it might and sometimes it won't. It really depends on what it is. But the whole point of your story and your process is that it is yours. And my thought is that I could bully myself and I could feel bad, but I don't, because I have time to figure this book out. I have time to make it what I want it to be. And I'm not going to put the stress on myself of thinking that it needs to be out in a year because I've had the idea and now I'm like talking about it. If it came out in a year, that would be great. Is it going to happen? No, don't get your hopes up. It's not happening. So if you're currently writing, think about your process, how you naturally move through the world. I have authors who have cranked out 3 books this year. I'm working on one author's 3rd book. She has the 4th book written, and she's started outlining and writing another series, like a spinoff series. And some people can just do that. And I think it's great. And I love that. It's absolutely amazing to see her brain unfold on the page as I'm going through doing the developmental edits, doing the line edits. It is one of the most exciting things is just seeing someone's brain unfold on the page. And I love that she has so many ideas and she's able to get them out on paper, and it's amazing. But I also know that that's not my brain. I don't function like that. You might function more like her. You might function more like me. You might function somewhere in between. There's so many ways that you can do it. And it's really hard, I know, with social media and with the world and with the productivity push, and you can have AI write a book for you and this, that, and the other. It's really hard to carve out your own path and decide what works for you. But I really think it's important to have that awareness, to think about that, to take your life situation, your story, what you want to create, how you do it. If it's your first book, it might take you a little bit longer, or you might fly through your first book and it might take you a little longer on the second one. Everyone and everyone's process is going to be so different. My goal with this entire video is that I am going to link the video below, the TikTok video that inspired this whole chat. I really just wanted to sit down, even though I'm not sitting, and have a chit chat about the different avenues that you can write a book, and that there's no real time constraint except for the time constraint that you put on yourself. If you are writing your second book and you have a release date already planned, then yes, that is a self-made constraint. That is a self-made deadline that you have to fill because you obviously don't want to change it. But realistically, there's no timeline. And this is not me saying that I am going to just willy-nilly never write this book and not put time into it just because, oh, I don't feel like it, like I'm not going to. And I don't think you should do that either. I think if there's anything that you want to do, anything that you feel called to do is going to take time. It's going to take effort. You're going to do it when you don't want to. You might have to do some things when you're tired. You might have to do some things when you have other things that you need to do. There's always a give and take. There's always stuff happening. There's no perfect time for anything. There's no perfect time for anything. However, I do think that giving yourself a little bit of breathing room, giving yourself not the benefit of the doubt, but just the freedom to have periods where maybe you work on it every day for 2 weeks and then you go back to work and maybe you work contracted work, or you have, like me, if I have a project, which I do right now, I have a line edit and they're very time consuming. They take up a lot of my brain power, and client work always comes first. It comes before content. It comes before paying the IRS, which I did last week. Love that for me. But that is my priority. And so if I have to prioritize client work over my own story, then that is what I'm going to have to do. And it's not going to be forever. I have breaks in between projects, but for a certain amount of time, that just is what it is. And I don't think it's fair to myself, or it's fair for you to beat yourself up because there are other people out there who have the time, the availability, the bandwidth, the brain power, whatever, the caffeine to be able to bust out books all the time, 24/7, every 6 months. That is my spiel. Let me know where you are currently at within your writing process, what you're watching, what you're reading, anything that you're interested in, what you thought about this conversation, and subscribe if you want to join the Chats and Chapters tribe. I am really trying. A little side tangent. Every time I feel like I get consistent and I'm like, okay, cool, we're on it, something happens and I have to put my cat down, and then my dog has a hotspot, and like there's always something. There's always something, and it's very frustrating, but it is what it is. It is life, and I try to go with the flow, all of the good things. Subscribe. Hopefully my next video will be a zero draft vlog. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.